Hey folks, welcome back to the Mañana No Mas podcast. I am here with Patrick LeRouge. He's agreed to come on and add some value to you guys. I spoke to him and he basically talks about how the mind aligns with the body to help us be more productive. And if you followed me for any length of time, you know that subject just jumped off the page to me, and I couldn't wait to get him on and share some information with you guys. Patrick, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, Kurt, thank you so much for having me at first. This is awesome meeting you and talking with you because you got some impressiveness about you as well, right? Like the things that you do racing wise. And I was really impressed with that. Now, what I do is it's very important for me to help the high producer, right? The CEOs, the A-type personalities, not pop. Because we go, and then we don't realize it until something goes. And when it goes, it's either going to be up top or downside, where your body's not working right and you don't understand. And the first glitch that a lot of people see is when they're doing the things that they normally do, but they're not getting the results that they get. So I help them slow down and see where they're going wrong inside their mind as well as inside their body, and have them sync that up so they're able to make more cash. They're able to outperform their peers. And the biggest one is they can live their life without fear of burnout or feeling stuck. So that's what I do. And I love doing it. I love having conversations about it. I wrote a book about the concept of doing more with less time, right? It's we'll talk about it in a second, but I wrote a book about it. It's awesome. And I would love to share more about it, but I don't want to jip it just yet.
No. It's, I find the topic kind of amazing, right? Because I've got I've had more jobs than I should have had in my lifetime. So I've worked under a lot of different leaders, and I've had the ability to be a leader as well. And as I listen to you talk, I can remember times where the A-type driven personality of me, that workaholic, got to I got to finish this project. I got to wake up early to get to the office and do this. We've got a meeting on that. And then I find that I might be succeeding at a really high level corporately, but then I've sacrificed my own personal health, my family health, things like that. And then it's weird. It starts it's like the crabs in the bucket thing, right? It's like next thing you know, the parts that you ignored begin to pull at you and pull you back down. And so everything starts to fail if you let something else fall between the cracks. Or at least that's my own personal thought.
No, that's absolutely right. So many people from a young age, we're taught to separate things. It's black or white. You have to think, or you came from a family that said, go. You got to push, you got to work. Your work ethic is strong. And as adults, we take that with us and we rush and we push. But the problem is, at our core, at our deepest level, we fracture things. We're either going to overthink things or we're going to push really, really hard. And let one lead alone, you'll fall apart. You'll hit a wall, and that's where the trouble happens. We'll go and we'll overthink. I'm like, should I do it? Is it right? Am I perfect? Is it the way it's supposed to be? The perfection analysis, right? Or you just keep on going, you accomplish it. And then finally you say, oh, I'm going to go take a little nap, and you don't wake up for 2 days, right? Or you wake up with some ridiculously weird issue. This is where the disease comes from, like nervous system issues, thyroid issues, you name it. The body will start to take energy from it to supply what you really wanted, but it's not what you need. And that's what I got to teach people.
Without naming names, I've known people, that traveled for work or did something that was highly visible, right? Where you're responsible for a corporate department, you're responsible for being seen in front of people. And I've seen those people just work through whatever the busy season is. Because as you know, the busy season's always busy. It never really slows down once you get to that certain level. And I've seen them like panic attacks. Next thing, they're in the hospital thinking they had a heart attack or something, and they missed some big event that they regret missing. But it's like their body said, dude, sit down. It's it. I'm tapped out. I'm done. And when I looked at your website, when Stacy, our badass friend in common, recommended you to me, I just instantly got those flashes of, if I can talk to Patrick on camera and my audience can understand that you can get a hold of this before it gets a hold of you, then our work is done. You know what I mean?
Like, that is awesome.
Like, don't have a stroke, don't have a fake heart attack, don't make your body tell you to sit down and take a time out. There's got to be ways to recognize that you need this kind of help. And I thought, let's get you on and let's hear your origin story. Like, how did you even get involved in this stuff?
That's always a fun one because my origin story, I always have trouble saying my origin story because when I did happen, it's unbelievable. But I was very cocky and I was very young and I was very brash, and because I did what I'm about to do in a proper way, I actually lost what got me going in the first place. So it was when back in 2007, I was a young body worker that I actually was really good at getting people out of pain. It was freaking simple. I saw it, I got people out, but the problem was because I was good at it, I couldn't keep myself out of pain. It's almost like the last person you want to buy a car from is a mechanic because he takes care of everybody else's shit, but not yours, right? So I was falling apart at the seams, and I actually remember a conversation with my in-laws. They were saying how I'm going to take care of my current wife now. And I didn't have a job longer than 2 weeks because every time I would do some great body work, had my own practice, I would hurt myself and I'd be out for weeks. But I was a serial person that would go out and try to get help trying to fix myself. So I learned all these different things, and I went to a seminar about energetics, which was my last ditch effort. It was hard for me to say that because it was on the heels of my mother-in-law grilling me and like, how are you going to take care of her? You don't have a consistent job, consistent pay. And she really belittled me as a man, and that's really, really hard. And it wasn't bad. It was truthful and honest, but I was a young buck that didn't really know shit. Ooh, am I allowed to curse? Am I good with cursing? Because it's about to get graphic in a second. Am I okay cursing?
You're good. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know shit. I didn't understand what was going on. And I was like, wasn't real to myself. So I went to this seminar all about energetics, my last ditch effort, because I couldn't touch anybody anymore. Because every time I touched somebody to help them, I would hurt myself twice as bad. So when I went to the seminar, this was the first person that actually saw me, felt me, and challenged me as a person that I couldn't get away from. Everybody else, I was just like, yeah, whatever, like I did with the in-laws 2 days prior. And he challenged me and he asked me a question like every seminar starts, what do you want to come out of this seminar? And I was like, I want to eliminate my pain. I want to make more money, right? The easy seminar answers. And he looked at me, he called me out and he's like, that's a bunch of shit. What else do you want? That's come on, give it to me. And I was like, oh man. And because I was young, because I didn't know anything and no one's ever challenged me like that, I got nervous. And he was like, just talk to me. What is something that you think you can't do, but you really want? And because I was nervous, I spit out just about anything at that point. I was like, I want my eyes to heal. I don't want to wear my glasses anymore. And he was like, oh, okay, that's good. And he walked away. And I was like, that fucking ass. Why do you like, holy crap, that was so bad. It was, you know how you get that feeling that you just, this put me on the spot. You just want to get out of it. That was that moment. It was my wall moment. And it comes into play here, like understanding that he pushed me into a wall and then quickly brought it back. So we went through the seminar and we went through so many mind-blowing exercises about connecting with your mind, connecting with your body, feeling who you are. And I was in Vegas. And this is the other reason why my mother-in-law was giving me the problem, because I was in Vegas. And I went to Vegas. I was in the old section of Vegas at I believe it was the Golden Corral or El Cortez. There it goes. It was the El Cortez. And I was seeing the old side of the strip. I was able to see the old side of the strip. And I was sitting up high, looking out the window, waking up from the first day of the seminar. And it was a little cloudy. Now, Kurt, do you wear glasses? Do you wear glasses?
Yeah. I didn't have to wear glasses till I was 50. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't see far away.
Well, there's a thing that a person that wears glasses very well does, and they don't realize it very well. They take off the glasses and wipe it off and put it right back on, and it's like instantaneously. Yeah, I did that, but I didn't have my glasses on. I went, oh my God. And I was like, I'm able to see, and I was able to see the stratosphere. I was able to see the mountains, but what made me want to take off the glasses was it was a little cloudy. It wasn't in high def. So I thought my glasses were dirty. And what made it worse is I turned around and I saw my glasses on the nightstand next to the table. Now, this is a whole nother story. When I was a child, I'm so blind that I had my glasses on top of my head as a child, and I freaked out because I couldn't find my glasses. And for an hour straight, my brothers, I have 4 of them, teased me until I cried. I literally cried because I couldn't find my glasses and they were on top of my head. I was
Yep.
freaking. That's how blind I was. So the fact that I was able to see that, it floored me. And you don't know me well, but I'm not speechless often. And I was speechless. So this is where it gets bad. For the next 6 months, I had a practice that I was getting people to heal. And what I would do is I would show them like a parlor trick. I would lift up my glasses, like, name anything. I can do it. You can heal anything. I just healed my eyes. Show me anything. And I was able to see it and put my glasses back on and back and forth. I'd use that as a parlor trick. And I made a lot of money from doing that. And it was almost like I tricked people to feeling better. I used it in a way where it wasn't honoring myself. And 6 months later, I lost all my eyesight again. So it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And ever since 2007, late 2007 till now, I've been fighting to get my eyesight back the way it was. Now I'm at a point where I'm at my lowest prescription yet, all natural, without LASIK, without anything like that, all because I honor who I am. I see what's going on. And because I was given that gift, I didn't respect it. So I respect everyone that comes in my way because they're going to help me as well as I'm going to help them piece together something that they don't know they need. And it's the combination of syncing up your mind and your body. I could tell you so many stories about that, but it comes back down to always understanding who you are and always really tapping into how you feel about what you're doing. And once that happens, that's when you go into the zone, right? You don't think, it just responds. And it just happens all naturally. And that's my origin story. And I can go further into that in that way. But it's automatic, the way the body can heal and process things instantaneously.
You actually mentioned something that I think would resonate with a lot of the people that chime into my channel, but even amongst themselves. You were saying helping people that don't know that they need the help, right?
That's one of the hardest things, because a lot of people.
Yeah. What do you do? Like you have a depth of perception. You can look at something like I love the show The Prophet with Marcus Lemonis, right? Where he looks at people's businesses and then he says, oh, well, how many widgets do you build? How long does it take? How many people work here? And then he does kind of a needs assessment, and then he makes them an offer to help them financially restore their business and move forward, right? Kind of that failing forward example. But those people knew that they needed help because they reached out to the show and said, my business needs help, right? Yeah. One of my passions is teaching power sports dealers how to do things. But I'll be talking right to a dealer about his business. And he's like, oh, thank goodness that's not us, man. We're all dialed. Everything's looking good, man. My guys are busy. And I'm like, no, I'm talking to you, right?
About exactly what's going on.
Yeah. And so you had mentioned it, like, try to help people that don't realize they need the help. What does that look like?
Now, I'll take you back to when I was a body worker. I worked with triathletes, and they are fucking phenomenal human specimens. I had an old, I wouldn't say old, but he was in his 50s, and he was struggling to get away. He knew what was happening, and he understood that he was declining. And through body work, through the things I taught him, he was able to excel to get first in his class, in his Ironman that he was going to do. And seeing other people do that is what you need to do. But it's not only seeing, it's actually feeling it. So what I had to do is I had to take those moments and show people, by the way, you can do it too, which everyone's going to say bullshit. Like, I was lucky, he was like, that's not me. So I would end up putting them on my table and showing them how much more they can be efficient with what they already have. That is how I was able to convert people to be like, all right, I can get better. Take it into the productivity world. Productivity world is, I have to get them to imagine you are already a high performer. You're already going. I'm not going to even go talk about your routines and how great you are with your time management. All I'm going to ask is, what would be 10% more productive? What would that look like? how would that be able to give you more money? How would that be able to give you more time? What would that do for you? And if I can get a person to feel that and lean into it, then they can see the potential of what they already are capable of doing. And then I can say, now we're ready to talk. But if I game off and just try to say, oh, I can help you get productive, they're like, I'm already good on my time management. I was like, congratulations, you probably aren't, but that's all right. And I just screwed myself because I tried to tell a hyper producer that he's not producing well enough. That's just going to aggravate somebody and shut them down.
Well, and I think if we're just honest with each other, we're both in markets where we only want to work with the high producers. You're not looking to bring on a bunch of losers, right? And so, and that's harsh language. Maybe people don't want to hear that, but you know, if I'm working with dealerships, I don't want to find a bunch of dealerships that are struggling to pay rent. I want to find dealerships that are already killing it, already slaying it, already doing $1 million a year in service business, and then show them how to get to that 1.2, 1.3, $1.6 million in business, right? For their particular dealership. And I imagine it's the same for you. But then, like you said, you have to come across that. How do you communicate to someone that's already high performing and go, I can get you higher?
And that's the fun part. And there's always, this is like, I love the black or whites because I'm not all about the black or whites in this way, but you either have to wait till they're broken, where they say, I can't do it anymore, or you find the visionary that says, I can do even more. And they've already been on the chase, right? That person is just like, oh, by the way, you can get more. He's like, I know because of this, and they're already there. And they had this skewed out plan that's everywhere. And you say, by the way, I have a system that makes it really, really simple. It's 3 steps. We have to get you to freaking focus. Then we have to get you to grow. And then we got to get you to live. All 3 of those wrap inside each other and you're already doing it. It's just you're focused on what. What we have to do is get you to focus on how. Like,
yeah. And a lot of guys I talk to go down that why path, right? Like if you don't really identify your why you're doing something, you lose that, you lose the drive, right?
It's based off of Simon Sinek.
Interesting. So if we were to say the world's your oyster, Patrick, you get to come on my podcast and advertise to your perfect client. What does your avatar look like, right? Have you heard the term avatar in business before?
I have.
Your best client. What does that look like to us?
Well, I work with males and females, so it's a combination of both, but they have to be a high producer, action taker, as well as a person like a CEO or a founder, someone that has stakes in the game more than I want to build money. I want more money. They have an emotional attachment to it. But the thing is, this is the tricky part. They have to really, really be wanting more from themselves rather than wanting more for something else. They want to see it from themselves from the inside out. So what happens with those people in specific is they run themselves really, really hard where they literally will pop. They will have mental issues. They'll overthink things. They have the I'm not enough issues. And the word now that's running around is imposter syndrome. They'll start feeling that they're good enough. Or they start having weird ailments, nervous system tics. They'll start to have things like thyroid issues, adrenaline fatigue. All these things will start popping up and it'll be weird. And like, I don't know what's happening. It just feels like I'm falling apart. Those are my ideal clients because they really want to get better and they have a reason to get better for, and they see it very clearly. It's just they don't have a roadmap to do it. And it's very, very simple. And what I do is I just go back to the very, very beginning of what got them there. And I show them, by the way, you have a subset of beliefs. And these beliefs are giving you the actions that you're doing that served you for so long. No longer serving you because you're out of compensation patterns. We have to get you back into your body and balance your mind. It's very, very simple. It's just a matter of, are you willing to slow down for a half a second to speed up exponentially?
So you came this close to a famous quote in road racing.
Really? Tell me about it.
Yeah. So there's an old dude, Kenny Roberts. Anyone that's into racing knows Kenny Roberts. And Kenny Roberts won in flat track. He He's the guy that got the credit. Barry Sheen fans might object, but he's the one that got the credit with first dragging your knee around a corner when you road race. Like, so you've seen motorcycle road racing where everybody drags their knee, you know,
Yeah.
it's like a tripod for the motorcycle almost. He was quoted as saying, you first learn how you have to slow down in order to go fast. You have to slow down in order to go fast. And when I became a road race instructor, it was very similar in that line of thinking, but you would tell people, you know, they didn't understand. You would say, you have to look as far down the raceway as you can possibly see. And in fact, sometimes pick a landmark off the racetrack to extend your field of vision. Because the more you can look forward into something, the more you can expand your point of view, the slower everything goes mentally and physically on the machine. And so the way I would explain that to people that were new to the racetrack is I would say, you know, hey, next time you're driving down the highway, just look out the window and look at the dotted line going by your driver's side mirror, right? And if at 70 miles an hour, what does that dotted line look like? And people go, oh, it's like, right? And then pick up your head, look out the windshield, and look at that line coming to you now. What does it look like? You know, it's nice and steady and slow. And so when you would give people that kind of idea, that kind of perception to look at, and it's not just for racing. Like I've used this everywhere now, right? I was doing a big project when I worked with Suzuki, and I had 16 irons in the fire. I had, you know, something like 96 different events going on all over the country at the same time over a 3-month span. And it was just mayhem. And if you allowed yourself to sink into it and feel constricted, you'd lose your mind. You'd have one of those panic attacks. But if you could pull your head up out of it and go, wait a minute, it's 96 things. We had a plan. We had a strategy. Where's the calendar, right? And just get back to, okay, everything's fine. Everything's running on point. Everyone's doing what they were told to do. Delegate as you can, right? You come out of it and you didn't lose your mind. You even slept at night, you know? But it's
You kept your nervous system down like that.
It's so hard to convey that skill set to some folks, you know?
Some people are wired. Well, this is why I work for everything from fitness to wealth, like bringing in the health, bringing in the wealth, bringing in the relationships, is because what I do is I bring it back to the very, very beginning. Think about your software compared to your hardware and your computer. Your computer works because Enter knows what Enter is going to do based off of the software that is made for it. What I do is I go into a belief pattern, clear that out of, let's say I'm not enough, or I have to push hard in order to make something work. And I get you to start seeing things relatively simple on it's easy. Everything always works out. And once you start believing it is easy on that software core level, everything around you becomes easier. Your nervous system starts to toggle down where you can actually see the fast world coming slow. And it's not a trick. It's just like, oh shit, that's just happening. And that's how fast it can work. It's just a matter of you going back to that very first point in time, feeling your body, and it slows down. And the easiest way is that you can ever, we could just go with the analogy that you just said. Everyone is right here looking right now. They're doing well over 70. These people that we work with, way over 70, the speed limit, right? And they're looking down and they're saying, I need to catch a line. I need to catch a line. And it's going too fast. When they look forward and they see the full picture, they can just sit down and relax. Everything calms down. And then they're able to grab and acknowledge things. They can see things coming from a mile away. And it just becomes slower and the body just becomes at ease. Now you're not burning the candles at both ends at all.
Man, I love that. It's almost like you're explaining the question that people ask me frequently, right? I'm a learning and membership website expert. I write curriculum. I've written books. I do these podcasts. I'm constantly doing something, and people will say, dude, careful, you're going to burn yourself out, or you can't keep, where do you get the energy? What do you mean you went and bicycled 60 miles on Saturday? And people, they don't recognize that it's a calibration. If I don't do that stuff, if I say, hey, I'm just going to sit around and watch Netflix for 6 hours on Sunday, I will get a migraine. Like I can't just, extricate myself from life and chill out. I've built a cadence and a certain level of performance that is just what I'm comfortable in. And I think that as you begin to explain, or as we have this conversation, it's, to me, I don't think I'm doing that much. In fact, there's times where I keep a journal and I go, I probably could have done a couple more things today, and
the high
and
producer.
yeah, and you got to cut yourself some slack, right? Thank goodness I keep a journal, because then I can go, oh no, I finished that website yesterday, right? I published that article on Saturday. I did this, 60-mile bicycle ride on that day. And then I go, okay, we're doing fine. I don't have to beat myself up, right? I'm staying active. But it's a lot of people see productive people and they'll say, oh, I don't know where that guy gets his energy from. I couldn't do that. Grant Cardone, the author of the 10X book that everyone's ranting and raving about right now. People look at his social and look at his activities and look at his meetings and they go, oh, that guy, he must be, he's either hooked on cocaine or energy drinks, right? But he's calibrated himself to perform at a high level.
Now, this is what my book is about. My book is about getting a simple path to getting things done, right? With less energy to spare, in less time. Is because you're going to recalibrate yourself. Think about taking different bridges to your destination. You have to consistently hit your wall. Like with my eyes, emotionally, I was suppressing things in my life where he actually brought me up to that emotional wall, and then he took me down. And the more and more I was able to push up against a wall, aka practice, in that heightened state, the better I was conditioned for it, as long as you are present while you're doing it. So I teach people about experience. Experiences is everything in our life, but an experience is something that you have to feel and something you need time with, right? That's how you gain an experience. You're sitting in it, you have to feel it, you have to be it, and you have to make it real. The more of those experiences you have at whatever state that you're at is what your body's going to condition itself for.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a matter of getting a person to learn how to challenge themselves in a way where they're comfortable, they're safe. And you've done it in such a way. And you said you were riding like this since your 20s, man, which means well before your 20s, you were priming yourself in small little ways to jump on a bike and push your limits. And I can guarantee you, if I asked you to tell me your story about you pushing your limits as a child, you'd be like, I was always doing it. It was always happening. And now I'm able to push at this higher level because you have conditioned yourself infinite amount of times before you reached and challenged yourself in your challenge. Majority of the world is taught differently. They never practice for an event. I worked with a lot of CrossFitters. And one of the very first things I taught a CrossFitter, I was like, listen, I know your WOD and everything is self-care and it's body mechanics. It's awesome. But I said, every time you go into a WOD, that is your challenge. That is your test because you're doing it at the highest state that you can do. You're never preparing for the WOD. You now need to really get good on your self-care. So when you go into battle every single day, sometimes you're ready for it. And they started to get better and better and not hurting themselves because they prepared for the WOD that they were going to do. Even though they didn't know it, what the WOD was or whatever the case may be, they kept their nervous system low. They kept mobility right. They did everything that what they needed to do, which then got them to a place where they were ridiculously productive and ridiculously efficient during that test, which was their WOD for the day, right? Their workout of the day. And that's the key here. It's a matter of learning and teaching yourself that every day doesn't have to be hard. But you have to challenge yourself a little bit every single day, and your body will get stronger and better every single day.
I want to take you back to something you said 5-7 minutes ago. You were talking about software versus hardware, and then you mentioned experiences, which, quote me if I'm experiences you said was time and what?
Feeling.
Time and feeling.
Okay.
And so as you said that, the little gears in my brain started formulating a question, and I was thinking, my own life, and then thinking about others, and I'm thinking, okay, how can I make this add value to people that are listening? So when you're working with somebody and you come across one of these software inputs that's negative, something that's there's got to be a way that you turn that negative into a positive, something that they can, John Maxwell would call it failing forward, right? But it's like, don't focus on the negative part of that experience. What's the positive you can take from that experience and apply it moving forward, right? And I would imagine to people that aren't used to that mental exercise, that's got to be really hard to communicate to them.
A lot of people don't realize a lot of this is running on the back burner. So I teach them how to flow through different charts, right? Everyone likes to look at their habits and say, I have really bad habits, right? And I say, all right, so what causes a habit? A bunch of actions being done all the time. So I tell them, all right, so what causes a action to be done consistently to cause a habit? And it's the words that you say. So you have to start watching the words that you say, and you'll start realizing that the things that you say dictate the actions that you have, which create habits. But if you start digging that rabbit hole a little bit more, what happens when you start listening to your words? You start hearing your thoughts. And what dictates the thoughts? Your beliefs. And this is where my practice skyrockets, is because I do generational beliefs. I clear up all the generational beliefs, the things that get you to do the things that you're doing currently, because you're taught that. You were conditioned in that way. So when a person, the way I used to do it before I learned everything is I used to find a person's belief and I used to fight the supercomputer. I'm like, oh, by the way, this is what's going to happen. You're going to try to do it this way, but it's hardwired to do it that way. You press enter, enter is going to do its action. I had to now reprogram that first belief of what's happening. I just have the cheat book, the cheat codes for a lot of beliefs, over 5,000 beliefs, and a way to erase them. My main purpose of my practice is now talking with the person, just like how we're talking now, and say, how was your day? And if I get them to become present on what they're doing throughout the day, they start to create their own new system based off of where they are as an adult, rather than the reactions that they would do as a triggered child or a triggered infant in that way. So many people just react throughout the day. It's like gracefully not falling while you're walking. Like a person, this is a funny, I used to teach people how to run. And you say, all right, watch somebody walk and then watch somebody run. And if you watch a person that runs, that's really good, it looks streamlined, it's great. But if you watch a person that runs really bad, which is majority of the world, it's just gracefully falling. You're stopping, gracefully falling. So it's a matter of getting a person to rewire that beginning portion of their software through the techniques that I have current. And once I get them to rewire that, I just have to walk them through a day and be like, oh, that was different. That was different. That was different. Because now your software and your body is syncing at one. And now you're in the zone all the time. This is how people make 3-4 times the amount of money that they can make doing just one simple task, because they see it differently in that way.
So much of this is just lining up, right? My first ever podcast guest was Andrew S. Oakes. He's in North Carolina. He's a guy, he drank, he smoked, he was overweight, was in debt, all these things. And he credits a Dave Ramsey book for changing his life, right? But this guy, I mean, he was dyslexic, had a hard time reading. He had to force himself to read the book. So this is one of those, you look at this and you go, and he won't get mad at me because this is part of his story, right? But he said, what are these things in my life that are making me uncomfortable? What are these things in my life that are causing me, for my wiring to be short-circuited and keeping me from being the best person I can be? This guy rewired himself, boom, no drinking, no smoking, lost weight, got his numbers in line physically. He reads unbelievably now, and he's even working on writing a book, and he helps other people with their finances and with their development now. I met him through the John Maxwell group, right? And so, but I look at that story and I go, and that's part of what led me to, there's something to the mental wiring and the physical wiring and success. Like so many people focus on, if I just read this book, or some people say, if I could run a marathon, I would have the willpower to do whatever. And I'm more like, read the book and run the marathon, and maybe you'll get where you really want to go.
The black or white mentality of the world. It's either one or the other.
Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't have to be this or that. It can be this and that. You know, I can have a great relationship with my wife and my kids and still ride my bike on the weekends and get up early and do software stuff and all of that has a harmony as long as I focus on scheduling it, like keeping harmonious about how I align these factors of my life, right? And so when I train people about physical health leads to fiscal health, right? You and I had a conversation before the podcast about, physical health leads to fiscal health. And it's because when I was 70 pounds heavier, I'd get out of breath walking upstairs to the conference room. I'd have a hard time staying awake for a 2-hour conference room meeting. If I had to do 4 hours of Zoom at that weight, chances are I'd be one of these cats on the internet, sleeping, right? On one of those viral videos. Yeah. But now, I've got the energy to bicycle, to run a half marathon, to do the business stuff that I need to do and execute and communicate to people at an energy level that makes them want to participate. And when you come to the table with an energy level that makes people want to participate, you end up with conversations like what you and I are having now. Like you have a business doing this. So I'm like interested, like, how do you reach out to these people? How do you find people that are like, I want that energy level. I want to find mental alignment with my physical being and find success.
The tricky part is getting past you want to find out what wakes them up at night. You have to find out their problem, right? And the majority of people don't wake up saying, I want more energy. They say it in front of you because they see us. It's more like, why do you want more energy? And my thing is, a lot of people in the high producing world, they are aware that they don't shut down their brain. They're aware that they drink too much or they use a crutch to bring themselves down. They're aware that there's times and it freaking pisses them off that they don't take action. And the reason why they can't take action is because something's happening that's stopping them here, or something's happening here that they can't do it. And the last one is, how are you doing with your family, man? Like, what's going on with how you're doing? How are you actually doing? And they say, oh, I spend time with the family. I was like, all right, so when you're spending time with the family, where's your mind? And they're like, oh, you got me. Right?
Yeah, you got me.
Someplace else, or I'm on my phone. They're not really spending their time with the family. Everyone rationalizes that away when they say, I need money, I need money, I need money. I need to get another client. I need to get another business. I need to do all this. So I was like, all right, so all of that is taking you away from your family. As your family gets more and more entrenched in not being part of your life, your man organism or your female organism will have a fit, which then will drive you either up into your body or into your mind, either canceling something here or canceling something there, which means you won't be able to work. It's only a matter of time. And that's how I get them. I get people to realize that. And then the simple place of how simple it is to correct it. Because everyone thinks it's a hard time because it's black or white. They never think of the C. They think of the A-B conversation that's going on in their head. They never think about C or both. And that's a big belief that I can't be really, really successful and have a family and be happy within myself. And the very first thing every high producer forgets about or they put on the side is themselves. They're producing for a reason. And that's what I have to get them to shift. You're producing for yourself. We got to get you to see that. You're doing it for yourself. And once you do that, then you can help everybody else. The easy example for that is jump on a plane. What do they say? Put your mask on first. Why? Because with your mask on, you can help other people.
Yep.
If you don't get back into your body, if you don't get back into your mind and balance that out, you will fall apart. Somebody's going to be helping you. We have to flip it. And I teach them easy things about how to get energy. That's simple. How to like your muscles are it's like an energizer battery. It's a rechargeable battery if you use it the proper way, which means the front of the body is called your anterior chain. Back of the body is the posterior chain. If they're both working, you have a system that's now going to recharge itself. The majority of our world does things in front of us. So we degrade ourselves because we fall forward. The easiest tip that I tell everybody is if you're working with a trainer, if you're doing more working out, things like that, start focusing on the back part of your body. And once you do that, things will shift inside your mind as well as inside of your body itself, because the muscle tissue attaches differently neurologically inside the brain for the back of the body than the front of the body. I can geek out on you at that point, but if you just started to work more on your backside of your body, you'll start seeing magical things happen with your emotions, your mood, your mind clarity, as well as your energy. You'll see it almost instantaneously.
Nice.
In that way.
Nice. So I'm going to go out on a limb, a little bit of a limb. When you work with somebody and you go through your process, which you say is easy, but I'm sure it's agony for them for a while, right? You go through the
No,
process.
It's not. It's surprising, actually.
Well, it's agony. The agony is the thought of doing it, and then they do it, and then they get mad and guilty, right? Because they didn't do it earlier, probably, right?
Yes, that is true.
I got to tell you, dude, when I dropped the 70 pounds, I was really furious with myself, because my realization moment came when I was on a work trip and the airline put me in a center seat and I wasn't comfortable getting into the seat. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how did this happen to me? How did I become the fat bastard on the airplane? You know, how did I get to be the guy that everyone looks at coming down the aisle going, oh God, please don't sit next to me. Please don't sit next to me. Please don't sit next to me. How did I become that guy? Right. And when I did the weight loss, it took dedication, it took time, it took effort. But, 6 months later, I was running Spartan races and feeling fantastic. And I was so angry and just a titch guilty, with myself for having gotten into that condition in the first place. And I had overcommitted myself to a job that wasn't committed to me. And so at the end of all that, you're like, I risked my health, I risked my finances, I risked my family relationships to succeed at a job that would replace me if I got hit by a bus tomorrow. And that was a really hard realization. So when you work with people and you see those aha moments where they got it, or you see them, they're happy to go home and see their family. Because let's face it, a lot of highly productive CEOs actually dread leaving the office and going home. Their fulfillment comes from the office, right? When they go home, that's where people are demanding things of them, right? And so when that changes, how does that make you feel? How does that?
Oh, you just asked a gut punch right there. One of the best moments is when a person starts to realize that they had it all. They're happy and content right now, and they're trying to do something that's out there that doesn't really matter. It does, don't get me wrong. Impact absolutely matters. But if you're happy right now, it gets really simple to get that. Really simple. And when a person comes back and is like, I was able to sit down and have a relationship with my wife again, have a relationship with my man again. And that's one of the very first things I start seeing on the personal side. It's like, I'm able to just listen. I'm able just to sit there with the person and just like, okay, I don't have to correct them. I don't have to one-up them. I don't have to do anything. It becomes really simple to understand why your kid's upset, because you're not thinking they need to be doing something when you're just like, oh, wow, that just happened. How did that make you feel? Like, you'll start to lean in once you no longer have the programming that we have. Once we shift that over and I see that happening, because that's the reason why this always is so fun to me, is because that's the later part of the program. So all I have is a small course that I walk someone through a bunch of different beliefs and clearing the beliefs out. It's really, really simple, right? And then it's a matter of talking with them in a conversational pattern about what's actually happening, not what is supposed to happen, what's actually happening. And by doing that, I put them against their wall. So yeah, it gets a little upsetting a little bit, because some people don't know how to feel, to be honest with you. They really don't. They think what they should feel rather than feel what they feel. Like when my kid says, Daddy, I don't want to sit next to you, I'm like, shut up. But it really hurt. Like, I want my little girl to sit next to me. Like, I was like, damn, babe, that hurt. A lot of guys won't say something like that. A lot of women won't say anything like that. It's so small, but those small things add up. And if I start getting to realize, why did that bother you? Why did that go? Then it becomes really, really simple to reprogram it. And then if you're doing things happily at home, and comfortable at home, that CEO wants to now be at home. So now he's going to make things really efficient at work, so they can make it to the place that makes them happy. And if they're both making them happy, now we got a sweet spot, baby. Now we can level up everything at that point. So it's really good when I see that, man.
I took my wife to Italy 2 years ago. When we lost all the weight, the reward was I'm going to run a Spartan race in Italy. That was the reward. I had the airline miles. It was cheaper to go to Italy than it was to take a weekend in San Diego. Truth, right?
Really?
Truth. Because so much of it was free, right? Because of the airline miles and stuff that I had accrued with my working. And remember, I said I left a job that was ultimately fulfilling. Like when I got that job, it was like I couldn't believe I got that job. But after 4 years of it, I was fat, out of shape, working too hard, that whole thing. So we moved south. I take a job with Suzuki. I didn't have to travel as much. My wife and I both lost a ton of weight, and we took that trip. That first time, we got away from the kids and we went to Italy. And before we left for Italy, I can remember thinking to myself, oh God, I sure hope we enjoy this trip. I hope she's not a pain in the butt. I mean, you just have that thought, right? Because you're like, all we've done is raise kids for 10 years, right? And so I was so thrilled. I even wrote an article and put it into my blog. I found my best friend again, right? That yes! I dig this chick. Like, she's awesome. We traveled around Italy, like 2 kids dating. We went to restaurants. We walked the city. We saw old friends at the Ducati factory because I wanted her to meet the people that I met through work. And because those are relationships that'll stay forever. The people at Ducati are fantastic. And it was great. We got back to the States, and I was happy to see the kids, right? Don't get me wrong. I was happy to see them. But I cherished that trip because it made me realize that we didn't grow apart. Our circumstances forced us to have different priorities and to communicate differently, but we didn't grow apart as a couple. We still really enjoy each other. And it gives you that extra boost of like, okay, if things are really good at home, I really can knock it out of the park at the office and not worry about stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, it's good, and it's some people would argue and say, well, it's not fruitful, or it's not, it wouldn't be advisable to take 2 weeks off and go here and go there and do this. And I'm like, nah, sometimes you just got to unplug, and you got to get yourself in alignment with the other things that are on your plate.
Yeah, like I have 4 categories that I focus on. Let me rephrase. I watch as I go through my process. One is fitness, family, finances, and faith, right? It's all 4 of those that map out a person. And there's other ones that are big, but you were able to do more and more because you built on your family. You started to see some. So, you built on your fitness. Then you went away, built on your family, which then like excelled your finances. And that's where I was just like, oh, he's talking my language. And like, you work on your fitness, you work on your finances. They're both one and the same, but you have to work with it and you have to play with it. And it doesn't, like, I can't say it enough. It's not as hard as what people think it is. It's a matter of just looking at it and just like, oh, this is what is actually happening. And my thing is, this is how my body's responding to it. If you find out how your body's responding to something, it's really simple to clean it up.
Well, and if you listen to the podcast I did with Stacey Rasky, I asked her a very similar question that I'll ask you. And I'm just guessing we all have a similar answer in our little circle of association. You probably don't know a whole lot of baseball stats, football stats, or what's going on the This Is Us show on Netflix, right?
Correct. I do not know any of that.
And I don't want to put the words in your mouth, but can you tell the audience why it is that you are stupid in those areas?
You set me up, man. Why don't I ever watch TV and things like that? Time is a precious commodity. Getting in touch with yourself is even more important. That takes my time. That takes my time. So if I'm going to waste time in front of a TV, it's not for the TV, it's for the company that I'm sitting there with. So if I do have that little half-hour time that I have to spend, I'm spending with my girl and she wants to watch Desperate Housewives, so fucking be it. And she hates me because I would ask all these stupid questions like, you don't watch anything, shut up. But I'm there more for her, right? So I don't watch any of that because it actually slows me down in connecting with myself. And more importantly, it takes me away from that half hour, that hour that I'm slowing down my brain manually, let's say. It's actually slowing me down from helping someone bigger that needs me, right? I could spend that half hour really going, but the only thing that matters is family, right?
Yeah.
If I'm gonna watch TV, we have movie night every Friday night in my house. I have 3 kids. We have movie night every Friday night, and I'm there for it. There for it. We have popcorn. We're there, right? That's family, and then we're just happen to watching movies. Sports is a whole nother. Like I give away my man card on that one, I guess, because I don't watch sports either. Because this came back from a body worker. I used to watch sports and not enjoy it because I was waiting and looking for the next injury. I'm like, oh, he's not using that, and here it comes. And I would see it in real time, and I was like, I don't want to watch it. And that happened early on in my life, being able to see something like that. So, hope that answered your question. It's just not worth.
Oh no, it did, and I'm thrilled that you answered it the way that you did, and with the passion that I was hoping for. So many people have asked me in the past. They how do you have time to make these websites? How do you have time to publish a book? How do you have time to do this public speaking thing? And I'm like, I don't know anything. I didn't know. Now I'm going to sound really stupid. The World Series just ended, and the team
did it?
Yeah, and the team in my town, I can't remember, the Dodgers, right? Los Angeles Dodgers.
Okay,
does that sound right? I think they won it.
I
don't know. But people are like, oh, the Dodgers won the World Series, and I'm like, who? What? Like, and I live here. But
I know you're feeling.
There's other things, there's things that take my attention, and if I want to be a person of excellence, I need to put my priorities and my attitudes towards those things. And just like you said, I'm like, my wife will say, oh, hey, do you want to watch this? And it'll say, season 1 of 6, episode 1, right? And I go, no, baby, I don't need another series to watch with you. If you want to watch a movie or something, let's do that.
We're careful about that.
But I can't be hooked on another series. We are watching The Man in the Tall Castle right now.
What's that one?
That's one where what if we lost World War II and Germany ran the east side of the United States and Japan ran the west side of the United States? And it's a pretty cool show. And we watch that, like you said. That's my time with my wife. The kids go upstairs to bed. We watch that show. We share a glass of wine, maybe a couple nibbles of chocolate, and watch the show. And that's my time to connect with her doing what she wants to do, right? But it's not because I like to watch TV.
Not at all.
I should rephrase that.
Our show is all more about learning about things. Like we watch the cabin shows, how to build a cabin and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then there's a survival show or two that I watch that I'm hooked on called Alone. We watch that because we're just like, what's gonna happen, like, but that's about it. But majority of the time, as silly as this sounds, we fall asleep. We fall asleep on each other.
Well, and that's that's fantastic too. It is. There's going to be links at the bottom on how people can get in touch with you. So I don't want to make this a commercial, but tell the folks that are listening, what's the best way to reach you? Let's say they're listening to this. They're not sure if they're a potential client or not. They're like, I don't even know if this guy is really for me or not. How would I know? Like, how do you want people to find out more about you and get in touch with you?
Well, I have my website, but the easiest, fastest way, like, I'm very, very open book. DM me. Facebook, Messenger. Come in and say, how you doing? And I'll ask you a few questions. And after that few questions, we'll go into an easy 15-minute call to see if we're even right for each other. And this is me. I don't pitch. There's no pitching. I actually give a lot of value on that 15-minute call because I want to know if I'm actually able to help you in a massive way in a short amount of time. That is the
Yeah.
key thing. So there's my 15-minute conversation, but the fastest way is Facebook Messenger.
Nice, nice. And realistically, you're one dude, and if you're going to put time into people, you got to make sure that you find the people that'll get the most for it.
Well, that's where their first couple of questions come in, right? I ask them like, what do you truly want to get? What do you truly want to get? This is the high producer, right? I want to be able to do this. And I was like, all right, so what's your bottom? Like, what's actually holding you back? And they say, oh, it's this, and this. And I was like, all right, last easy question. I'm telling you all the questions. Like, all right, are you willing to be open about solving those problems in the short amount of time?
Yeah.
All right. And then we go into a 15-minute conversation where I just jam away, finding out different things that's actually causing your root problem. And then I just pull out the root problems just like that. And then you change so quickly, it's bananas in many different.
That's, and sometimes that can be the hardest part of the transaction. I know for me, and I don't like to use the word transaction, but that's the transaction that's part of the relationship building. Is like when I consult with a business, I'll do a needs assessment and I'll say, here's an 8 or 10 page, basically I lay out the timeline and go, here's an 8 to 10 page needs assessment that says, these are your items of growth. This is how we can go. And I just need to know if you're trainable or not. Like, are you willing to invest in your staff and make this successful? Or does this look like too much for you to bite off, or you're not really interested? Because I don't want people in my group that aren't interested in success. I can't afford to have failures on my team, right?
Yeah.
So I only invite the potential success stories to the table in the first place. And then it takes a little bit of maintenance to keep them going, get them over those speed bumps,
That's like, I'm going to give a little bit more. The way that I do it is through small touches. So it's almost like I'm always patting somebody on the back saying, great, good job. And I get them moving based off the things that they want. And if I make that simple enough, then they don't even realize that I'm there cheering them on consistently. They're just like, oh, Pat, this is what happened. I was like, good job, let's go. Good job, let's go. And I have different systems to make that happen based off of what they want. So it's almost like you're getting exactly what you need all the time, which is fulfilling your need to go further because you're a high producer. And the fact that you don't need me there and I'm there anyway, holy fuck, does that change everything? The fact that you don't need me there, but I am there.
Yeah.
Running with you on top of that. Now we're really
dynamics in relationship. It's amazing how it's so much of it comes down to how we communicate, how we build relationships. And, I tell people all the time, they go, why do you do this? Why do you do that? And I go, it's not about the transactional event of creating $1 for my bank account. If I create enough good relationships, eventually there's going to be enough revenue to come in that I don't have to worry about it, and I just constantly try and stay in that space of adding value to others and know that I'm doing the right thing at the right time. And I really get that kind of same feeling from you when I talk to you, Patrick. I really appreciated our time. I want to value the time that we have with you. And so again, there'll be links in the bottom that folks can hook up with. I would just close this out and say, if you're a CEO, if you are a founder, if you know someone that's a CEO or founder and you see them coming up against these walls that Patrick's been talking about, well, then you're going to know from this podcast how to get in touch with Patrick, and I implore you to do so. Patrick, do you have anything to add?
No, this is awesome. Well, actually, I do. I ask everybody this question. Think about it. What would 10% more productivity do for your life? Money, finances, fitness, the amount of the RAM that you can process, the things that are on your plate.
Yeah.
Just a small percent. We're not saying 50, 100. Like, we're talking about just 10% is that tipping point. That's all you need to do. Focus on that, and then things will start to move. You'll be able to do more with less. I swear to you. You just have to focus on that 10%. And then you're good. So other than that, I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
That's it. Thanks, guys.